Welcome to this week's edition of Peak Performers Life, sponsored by Express Employment Professionals. Listen in as Walter teaches us all how to go to the next level.
I am so excited for you because you've decided to invest just a little bit of time in order for yourself to become a peak performer. I'm sure you're good. I'm sure you're already successful, but we want to help take your game to the next level. I've been able to become a peak performer in two totally different industries. I made it to the NBA, which was a childhood dream, and my next vision was to become an award-winning motivational speaker. So in 45 years on this earth, I've been able to become a peak performer in two totally different, unrelated industries. And it taught me a valuable lesson. These 31 truths I'm going to teach you are the keys to becoming a peak performer. These 31 truths that we're going to go through, I've been able to apply them in sports and also in business. And by executing these 31 truths, has positioned us to become peak performers. So I'm very confident and I'm excited that if you master these 31 truths we're going to go through, you too will become a peak performer in your industry. Isn't that what life is all about? As far as I'm concerned, I'm still growing, I'm still developing, I haven't arrived yet myself. And so I'm constantly focused on how can I become bigger, stronger, and faster. I think it's the athlete in me. As an athlete playing professional sports, that was our job. Our job was to become bigger, stronger, and faster every single season. The fans demanded it, ownership demanded it, the media demanded it. As an athlete, we could not come back each season the same athlete. Now, let me ask you a question. If you get paid for services rendered with your company or organization, guess what? You're a professional too. Anyone who gets a paycheck or is seeking a paycheck, you are seeking to be considered a professional. If you get any money for what you do, any service you provide, you too are a professional, which means you have the same exact obligation to become bigger, stronger, and faster. These 31 truths can change your life. It all begins with thinking, executing, and dominating. Those are the three words that I use to become a peak performer in two different industries. I want these three words to become a part of your DNA. Think, execute, and dominate. If you can go through this process of thinking, executing, and dominating, you too can be a peak performer. Now, when you think about thinking, let's take a different look at thinking. Some people have all the fallacies in the world about thinking. Some people say, well, you know what, I'm left-brained. I'm right-brained, right? So yeah, some people are very creative. Sure, some people are very analytical. But here's the reality. Even though you might be left-brain dominant or right-brain dominant, we all use both sides of our brain interchangeably. Here's another fallacy. Some people say, well, you know what? We only use 10% of our brain. And if we could use more of our brain, I'd be smarter. There is absolutely no evidence that suggests that we only use 10% of our brain. Think about it. With all the head injury, concussions, and head trauma, if we only use 10% of our brain, concussions wouldn't be a big deal. Because I'm pretty confident that someone has had a blow delivered to their brain on the 90% we don't use. That doesn't make sense that we only use 10% of our brain. Here's the reality. We use both our left brain and our right brain. And we also use 100% of our brain. Here's the disconnect. I think some people are so busy, many of us are so busy, it's not that we don't use our brain the right way, the left brain, right brain, or the right percentage. I think we work so hard in America that we don't have time to think. We don't have time to use innovation and creativity. We don't have time to think about our position, our role. Sometimes we're so busy doing that we don't have time to think. Now, if you think about it for a moment, we live in a busy world. But I look at people's lives, and in 5-year increments, their life doesn't change. Within 5 years of being so busy, they look the same, they make the same money, they live in the same house, they drive the same car, they talk the same, act the same, everything's the same. If you've been so busy, it just makes sense to me that you being productive and your life should be going to the next level if you're so busy. Think, execute, dominate. The High Achievers Network is for anyone who wants to take their game to the next level. And the way it begins is by thinking, executing, and dominating. I want you to take a little bit of time, at least once a week. I recommend Sunday evening as you get ready for that Monday morning grind. Go somewhere quiet, close the door, and all I want you to do is think. Get your mind right for the week of work ahead of you. Think about what you need to accomplish this past week, what you didn't do last week, what you can do better this week. Take about an hour every single Sunday evening, if that works for your schedule, and all I want you to do is think. Take your time and use your left brain, use your right brain, and use 100% of your brain thinking about how you can take your game to the next level. Here's how it worked for me in basketball. As you guys know my story, I sat on the bench in college. Here I am. I have a dream of playing in the NBA, and I don't even play on my college basketball team. I was a million miles away from the NBA. And I began to observe our basketball team, and we were losing. We had a Big Ten losing streak. Everybody beat us. Even the Little Sisters of the Poor would come into Minnesota and beat us. But as we were losing, and I had these aspirations of playing in the NBA, I began to think. After I got my attitude right, after I got done throwing my pity parties, I began to think, this team is losing, and why? And as I observed while we were losing, I realized that, you know what? Maybe I can solve the problem and turn our team into a winner. I realized we didn't play together as a team. I realized we weren't hustling. We weren't making the extra pass. We weren't giving maximum effort. We didn't play with energy, charisma. We didn't play together with effort, and that's why we didn't win. You know what? I begged my coach to play me. I begged for an opportunity, and I went out on that basketball court, and I began to solve problems. By solving problems, it increased my value. And the more problems I solved on the basketball court, guess what? The more I got to play. I took that same concept and it landed me in the NBA. As a basketball player, my job was to solve problems. So basketball's over. I got back into the speaking business. We launched 15 years ago. I observed my industry, and just like sports, I began to think, who wants a motivational speaker? Okay, let's think about it. Thousands and thousands of meetings that happen every day. So what kind of speaker would a client want? They want a very entertaining, very dynamic speaker who gives the audience good information. So as I thought about it, if I could become a very entertaining, very dynamic speaker who gives the audience good information, guess what? I can become an in-demand speaker. And that's exactly what we've done for 15 years. So in two different industries, all we did was think, execute, and dominate. And that's simply, we became peak performers in not one, but two different global industries. So what does this mean for you? High Achievers Network is simple. I want you to take some time to think using your left brain and your right brain. I want you to be logical, but I also want you to be creative. Sure, you have a side of your brain that's going to be dominant, but you can't let that dominant side of your brain overpower your ability to be creative. I'm a naturally creative guy, so I have to really take some additional time and force the other side of my brain to operate where I can be more logical and thoughtful and not always get lost in this world of creativity. And after you think and come up with these great ideas, your next job is to execute. In other words, put legs on these ideas. You are smart, ladies and gentlemen, no doubt about it. But I know you're busy. But I don't want you to just to be busy. I want you to dominate. I want you to be productive. So when we look at your life 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and you've been saying how busy you are, this busyness will convert into productivity. That productivity will revert into money, promotions, prosperity, life enjoyment. And as you have success, guess what? It's going to free up your time to think even more. And that thinking will position you to think, execute, and dominate. In this High Achievers Network, we're going to systematically, step by step, go through each truth. There's 31 truths. Not one truth is more important than the other truth. Many of you guys are already executing many of the truths. But I want to challenge you. What would happen if you mastered all 31? That's your challenge. I want you to stay with me. I want you to stick with the High Achievers Network. And all I need is about 10 minutes of your time once a week. And we're going to go through each truth. And I don't want you to just blasé pass through and, yeah, I do that. You probably do it. But the question is, have you mastered each truth? You have not mastered each truth. Trust me, I've not mastered each truth. But I tell you what, I'm a work in progress, and every single day, I want to hit the ground running, and I want to make sure to the best of my ability that I'm working on each 31 truth, and the better I get, the more valuable I will come, my world and life will reflect it. I want you to have the same attitude. You're not going to arrive either, but I want you to understand that every year, your job as a professional is to get bigger, stronger, and faster. So 5 years from now, we won't recognize the world you live in. All your friends will say, wow, Tim has been busy, but wow, look at him now. Barbara, man, she is so busy, but look at her life now. I can't even recognize her life.